Afternoon, David. I know we'd usually be meeting up over a drink and a winners party, which is not happening this year for obvious reasons. But this kind of, this is opening. It's really just a kind of an online introduction, really, to our commended and winners of this year's SterlingOSB Second Skin competition. I mean, I think with the we've done room in a room. We had the intergenerational house a few years back, raised the roof last year. Why do you think there's a competition strategy? I mean, you could have had different ways of kind of appealing to people for SterlingOSB. Why did you go down the road of competitions?
For the Norbord piece, it was a really simple idea to get the architectural world to reassess what OSB was and is currently. It's a structural board and panel that can be used in such a variety of ways. And I think when, from the conversations that we've had with each of the winners every year, when it comes to specifying products into projects, it's a very easy one to do in terms of placing wood panels into projects. But what we wanted to achieve was to get a greater understanding of what the benefits of using SterlingOSB Zero are, and for them to be comfortable in putting that within their drawings and projects. From our perspective, it's about that promotion of the product. We're the largest OSB producer in the world, but it's a different type of audience that we're targeting in terms of architects and specifiers, and we wanted to do something slightly different. The big things that we talk about within our marketing messages are, zero added formaldehyde. We don't add formaldehyde to the resin, so the panel is greener and more environmentally friendly. It's all produced in Inverness in the northeast of Scotland, so there's less mileage to come from South America and Asia where plywood is produced. But also it's a British made product, and I think over the last few years there's been a return to that type of product where people are proud of using products that are produced in the United Kingdom.
I think the associations have gone as well a little bit further from the idea of like hoardings as well to what the structural possibilities of it were and what its aesthetic potential was too. I mean, I know I was thinking about one of our former judges like Jan Katijn and his Blue House Yard project, and I thought that was a really key. I mean, he'd used it internally there, and it was just this kind of rethinking about how the idea of exposing materials now is far more. It's always been in vogue with architects, I suppose, but even raw materials like SterlingOSB are also being exposed, especially with like more temporary pop-up initiatives. So you feeling that it's getting used more rather than in just, I mean, obviously you've got a core construction base, but are you seeing that there's more architectural interventions now?
Very much so. I think what we've found over the last few years is that the product is being exposed and left exposed within certain areas of retail, for example, particularly within the UK, and that's pleasing to see, of course, because the vast majority of the use of OSB is in behind walls, in floors, on roofs that actually people don't see once the final layer of construction material gets placed. So for that to be exposed and for that to be seen by the everyday public, it's really good from a product recall perspective. But also it's nice to see your product is left exposed and you can see it when you're out and about in the towns up and down the country.
I'm kind of intrigued as to whether from all the, I know, it's a notional competition. It's about ideas. It always has been. We always push that. But I kind of wonder whether you saw there was any personal project things that you from past competitions that you took away from actually thinking, oh, could this be a new potential for the material? Could we think about it in this way? I mean, I think particularly, I mean, for me, I mean, there've been lots of really great ideas. I really loved last year's winner, Reed Watts's Rooftop Refuge, just because I thought it was such an amazing idea to kind of create a summer intervention on a roof in Kingston that could be turned into a homeless shelter in winter. I thought that was a great idea. But I mean, from your point of view, I was really struck. I think it was 2 years ago when we did the room within a room, and there was that Jill of all trades project. Do you remember the Chan Briscoe Architects one, which was? I know that you really, really wanted that. In an odd way, you were really pushing for that one to win because it looked like something you could just kind of have bought from IKEA and inserted into a building. It was a very beautiful piece of joinery, effectively, completely made out of SterlingOSB. And I know you really pushed for that one. It didn't end up winning, but it was one of those very divisive ones, which it could have almost won. It didn't quite because it didn't have the kind of final leap of imagination. But what of the projects do you remember that you kind of think that idea we could run with? Or
I think the intergenerational living was one that I suppose would touch on a lot of people in the recent months that the pandemic has started and took its effect. I think a lot of people have moved home back in with mum and dad. I think a lot of our elderly relatives have moved in with their sons and daughters to be cared for and looked after. But I think on the premise of why we did what we did that year was because the amount of land that was available to us is diminishing every year, and we wanted to demonstrate and get ideas for people to better use their land. And actually, as someone that moved back in with mummy and daddy after university, it was having had my own freedom for 5 years to move back in with mum and dad was slightly limiting and restricting. So to have your own space back in within the family home was something I suppose that I had a personal attachment to and personal experience of. But also I think it demonstrated the use of OSB as a structural panel, that it doesn't actually have to take that much to be able to build an annex or another living space onto an existing property, that it could be done very easily and very quickly. And I think based on obviously what we've experienced this year, that's probably happened up and down the country. So yeah, I would dare say that's probably the one that stands out for me the most.
I think with this competition, we probably kind of, the whole idea of how you kind of weatherproof the material ultimately, which I think that one completely was addressing really directly, that competition. We've kind of, here we're kind of talking about a building, it's a refurbishment, so it's a kind of an interior fit out on various scales. And I think we came, there's some really great responses to it again. And I think now we're going to be coming and taking a look at 4 videos of the commended and the winners. So I think we're all going to be taking a look at what they came up with. I personally found it a really great competition. I really enjoyed, I really loved the one that won. I think the commendeds, I mean, obviously, they're all good, but there's certainly 2 commendeds here that I really, really loved as well. But I think what's nice is that it's a judging process. I know all the judges, Stephen Proctor has judged this regularly for years now, and I think he really looks forward to doing it. I think it's a competition that has really it's a prosaic material, and it's really amazing what some years, the kind of production we've had from the winners and from commendeds, where you just think, oh my God, how did they think that up, or why did they think that? And I think this year has been to the same level really. Despite lockdown. But I'd like to thank you, David, for continuing to sponsor this competition, because it's great. It's a very generous prize. £2,500 is, there's nothing to be sniffed at, and it obviously entices people to kind of, think hard and to kind of put forward really great ideas, which we all love to judge. And I suppose we should just kind of go ahead and see them. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you at the live event next year. Hopefully, everything will be back to normal. We don't know, but hopefully, this will be the one and only time we're doing this one online. Anyway.
Yes, no, looking forward to next year already. So.
Yes, that would be great. And thank you very much indeed again.